Okay, so we're calling this meal prep made simple, but kind of like I mentioned a little bit, we're not actually going to do the full length prepping a whole meal ahead, because that kind of makes you, I don't know about you, but it makes me just kind of dread even thinking about that. It makes you think it'll take 8 hours. But no, yeah. So not at all. We're keeping this crazy simple, and what's cool is I'm going to try to do this like in real time. So you could say like you have your 30 minutes on a Sunday and get this done and have it done for the week. So the first, so the first thing that we'll do, and you can kind of vary what meat you want to prep, but the first thing we're going to do is what takes the longest, and that'll be the chicken. So I have a couple pounds of chicken breast that I got. So you can use different cuts, chicken thighs, what you like. And I'm going to use the pressure cooker for a shortcut. So I have the electric pressure cooker. I know you can use whatever. My dad's a big fan of the old-fashioned one, so whichever one you have. So we're going to go over to the pressure cooker here. And anytime you do your pressure cooking, you have to have at least a cup of liquid. So that's what makes the steam, and that's what makes it work to cook. And I have more than a cup here. This is the Easy Read measuring cup. Maybe you can see, you don't have to like bend your neck. You can just look down in there and see the measure. So I'm going to go to the pressure cooker here. And then I'll show you this inner pot. It's just like a 6-quart inner pot. That's all it is. And you just drop in your broth. And then just drop your chicken in here. So you can kind of picture how much you need for your family for the week. You can put up to 4 or 5 pounds in here.
Ooh, yeah, that's a nice big pan.
Yeah, it's plenty good size. So that's just our raw chicken in there. And then this is actually called the Deluxe Multi-Cooker. There's several settings, so I'm going to dial it. There's a poultry setting. You just dial it to poultry and hit start. And the amount of time that it's going to cook is 15 minutes, but it does take some time to build up to pressure. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's about 10 minutes to build up to pressure. But the nice thing is it's completely hands-free. Like once it's in there, you can completely forget about it. You don't have to worry about it boiling over or anything like that at all. So that's going, we can forget about it. And that's our meat. So then think about like when you are cooking, what are those veggies that you have to cut up and prep over and over and over for the week? The ones that you use the most, like what comes to mind?
Onions.
Yeah, onions for sure.
Tomatoes.
Yep.
Celery. Yeah.
Potatoes.
Pepper.
So you kind of just think about those veggies that you know you're going to be using all the time. And I did go ahead and wash these ahead so that was ready for us. And then I peeled a couple carrots, and I wanted to show you, I have the fastest peeler. This one, it's called the new pivoting peeler, and you can use it like the normal peeler, or if you want, you can go this way. Sometimes it's easier, like for the potatoes, different things. But this has been the fastest peeler I found. So this is, I'll just show you a carrot real quick. So that's how fast that goes. I think because it's such a wide blade in there, maybe. And then I wanted to show you guys, I don't know how well you can see it, but this cutting board that I'm using is actually part of a prep and store system. So there's this cutting board, and there's these little racks that pull out, and it comes with 2 containers. They're actually 5-cup containers, and you can set these in the racks. And then as you're cutting, you can just slide it right in. It's the coolest thing. Or like if you're doing your scrap pile, you can scrape your scraps right into there. So it's so handy. I just have this right here. It kind of makes your counter really efficient. So I washed everything, I peeled my onion. So for our time, you can kind of picture that might take you like your 10 minutes, 5 minutes. So let's start with carrots. So I like to get my carrots cut or shredded pretty fine because whatever we're going to be cooking during the week, if it's cut finer, it'll cook faster. So I'm thinking we'll do like some little, kind of like almost carrot shreds. So this is called the Rapid Prep mandolin. So it is like a mandolin, like you think of the ones that do the slices. But this one actually has a couple options. You can do slices, so it's just like your slices of any thickness, like potatoes, for example. But then there's another knob where you can do a julienne cut. So that's like those long, skinny strands. So you can have it sliced and cut into strands at the same time. So this time we are just gonna do, actually we'll do little strands with carrot. We'll do like a medium-sized cut, and then we'll do strands. But the cool thing about that is, think about if you're doing a potato, you can put it on the thickest slice and the thickest long vertical cut, and it'll give you your French fries. You can do your French fry cut in here. So that's really cool. And then you can do those French fries in the air fryer and have your own homemade fries. Or some people get into sweet potato fries. I know Dana said she's into sweet potatoes. For her dogs, actually. So when we push these through, I like to break them down to about 4 or 5 inch lengths. And we can push through several.
You remember that?
What's that?
You remember that with the sweet potatoes
Yeah.
with the dogs? They do, they love them. They just came tonight, by the way.
Oh, so you have them again?
For the weekend. So I have to do that. I'm glad you reminded me.
Yeah. So we can load up the food chute here. And here's what I really like about this mandolin. Every time you pull out the traditional mandolin, somebody says, gives you a horror story about cutting themselves with it. This one, I'll show you, your hands aren't anywhere near the blade, so you don't have to worry about that.
Wow, look at that.
So what's gonna happen is you're gonna be pumping the handle. So you'll push with the food pusher and then pump the handle at the same time. And look at that, you get your little shreds that easy.
That is quick.
Yeah, so we're doing like a full example here.
Wow, that's done in no time.
Yeah, so that's your carrots all shredded up. And you know, you can think about how many you'll need for the week for your family, but it won't take any time. So that's the carrots. And then what I can do is just keep these stored for the moment in one of these containers. So I'll keep those handy. I hear a TV or something in the background there.
Oh, sorry, I had
That's
it on
okay.
mute. I just forgot to put, okay, I'll mute it for a
Oh,
minute.
there we go.
It's funny because Chuck, my husband, was watching Gordon Ramsay, what's his name?
Oh, yeah. He's a
Oh,
good
he's
one.
watching that and I'm watching you.
And then,
You're put on me for a minute here.
oh, I can mute you too, Dana. And then, but I like to chat though. And then carrots, and then let's think of what else. So celery, a lot of time your carrot, your celery, and your onion is what you'll need. So we can have those ready to go. So let's do the same thing. Let's go to celery. And I washed a few stalks. And for these, I'm thinking like just some sliced celery, because I have in mind maybe doing like a stir fry or something where I can get these cooked pretty quick. Or like, you know, if you do a soup or anything, just little slices of celery is pretty much what you do, right? loading this up. So for the celery, I'm just gonna do a slice. I'm not gonna do like the little strip. I'm gonna do a regular slice, and I'll do it a little thinner so that they cook faster. And behind me, I'm hearing the pressure cooker start to work back there. And we'll zip through this whole batch of celery here. All right, so that's your whole batch of celery in your little slices like that. So that'll be completely ready to go for your dishes that need celery. So let's just throw that in another container. And I'm hearing my steam behind me. So it hasn't quite started its 15-minute countdown, but it's close. Yeah, you can just get distracted. I love that. I love anything that you can not worry about having to get distracted, because we all get distracted, especially if you still have little kids at home or big kids. Yep. Okay, so we have our carrot and celery. And then onion. What's interesting about onion is you can do different things. You can do a slice, or sometimes you need your diced onion. So you can go either way with that one. So and we have to see if this is, we actually have to break it down a little for the onion. But we always have the classic food chopper too. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that one. So we'll do a pretty thin slice for the onion. Okay, so we have some sliced onions. And here's what's cool about these little containers. They come with a little divider that you can take in and out so that you can do 2 ingredients. Or, for example, you could do like diced onion in one side and sliced onion in one side. So that's a way that you can have like 6 things stored at once in there. And then on that same note, another piece that you can use, there's a little mesh bottom that you can set. So you know how sometimes when you cut up like watermelon or pineapple, it's real juicy, or tomatoes? So if you have this in the bottom, it doesn't sit in its own juices and they'll last longer. So this is a way to make everything stay better in the fridge for a few more days too. And then there's even, you know how your storage door, you can vent it depending if your fruit needs to breathe. You can have it vented, or you can close it if it's cut already and you need to keep it from browning. So it's like its whole little system there. So we have our onion, carrot, celery. Now let's think a little more detailed, like sometimes bell pepper you need. A lot of times, it seems like tons of recipes use green bell pepper. So let's think about some peppers. So I have just a regular size green bell pepper, and we actually have a brand new tool to help with peppers that is a pepper corer. So this is actually going to be the first time I use this too. I just got this. So there's 2 parts to it, because you can do those little skinny peppers or the big ones. So for the big ones, you're just using this part, and it's a little serrated. So what you're doing is just pushing down and twisting on top. Push down and twist at the same time. Kind of all the way in. And then take that out and just push that out. And gets almost all of it. And then you take the little tool that comes with it is serrated, and you can scrape the rest out really easy. Yeah, you don't even realize you needed this help, and then so that, Granny, have you done like the stuffed bell peppers where you had to leave them whole like this? So that's your really easy way to get that ready to go. What's that?
I always tug them out with a spoon.
Oh, a spoon, yeah. Hopefully this is easier than that. Yeah, so Pampered Chef has been around 45 years now. It's been a while. Yeah, no, not that long. Okay, so that bell pepper is ready to do something with. So let's take it, the quick slice that Susie, you mentioned, you recognize. This is the quick slice. So you want to tell us about it, Susie?
It works just fast and everything is even.
Even, yeah, that's a good point. So the blades are serrated and they come to a V shape, so that's what really can grip things. So my favorite way to show it is a bell pepper. So you take like a half a bell pepper or a quarter, and you can even kind of start just on your cutting board and then put it down and just kind of rock back and forth. And then you get all your bell pepper strips all at once.
All the same size.
Yeah. So you can really easily zip through, say you're doing like fajita night. So that is one of the recipes I'll share when you have your ingredient preps. One of the ideas you can do with the prep ingredients is a fajita night. So here's your prep bell peppers. And if you want, you could put them back on crosswise and do it again and then get your little dices. But we'll just run with the strips for right now. I like to leave as many options as I can open because I might want to do the fajita night. And then another fun way to use that is mushrooms. So this quick slice is good for anything that is not the hardest. Like you couldn't do a raw potato or a whole raw onion, but like strawberries, you could do 4 at a time, mushrooms 4 at a time, cucumbers. It really made me realize how nice it is the last time I did a veggie tray. You just zip through your bell pepper, cucumber, and mushrooms like super quick. So let's try some mushrooms. So you can get all your mushrooms sliced really quick. So those you can even have handy for omelets in the morning or whatever recipe. So you just do as many of those as you need. And I want to show you this prep and store. This is like an entire prep and store system. So you have the cutting board and then my 2 containers down here. But then there's also a separate part where you have this base that holds 3. So you can take this base and put your freezer packs. So these you keep in the freezer and then they stay cold, and you can put these in the bottom and then have your prepped veggies here. So you can think about how you can use this. Like you could do your fruits and dip or veggies and dip, or you could have, like if you're doing taco night, you could have your ingredients set out, or say like the kids need after school snacks, you can just have this in the fridge that can be pulled in and out of the fridge easily all week. And this is it's about the size of a 12-pack soda can pack, so it's not that big. It's pretty efficient. So just like already the feeling of this, having this done, and I have this in my fridge for the week, is making me feel so much better for the week. Like, okay, I'm ready to go. So,
Erica, I have a question.
yeah.
Broccoli in that little hot gadget?
This one?
Yeah.
You said broccoli?
Yeah.
That's a really good question. I honestly don't think I've tried it. So, broccoli and cauliflower, I don't think I've really tried slicing too much. I feel like I'm always just kind of breaking apart the little broccoli flowers. But I'm sure you could. Like I would do yeah. But if you had, not your huge head, but if you had like some smaller florets, I think you should be fine to do broccoli in there. I should try that. Because that would be good like in a stir fry. And it'd be about the right size cut too. So then let's think about, so we have about 6 minutes left on the chicken. And that can be it for your veggie prep. You'll just have done whatever amount you need for the week. And then let's think about the different meats you could do. I'm going to be sharing some recipe ideas for ground meat and for the chicken like we're doing today. But I wanted to mention too, alternatively, if you don't have a pressure cooker, what I would do for the chicken breast is preheat your oven and do them on a sheet pan and bake them in the oven. So that could be going while you're doing your other ingredient prep. So I would just boil your chicken breast and put some, maybe not too much seasoning. I like to not season it too much because that way you're free to go whatever direction you want with your flavors for the week. Like say one night you're doing Asian chicken and one night barbecue, you can still have that option. So not too much seasoning and just have these baking. So that's another option. So we have these really, really good sheet pans. They're just really heavy duty feeling, and I just love having these for so many things, like your roasted veggies or your desserts. And they're handy just to keep things on too. So that's another option. And then, you know how sometimes when you get the chicken breasts lately, they can be so huge and fat. Have you noticed that? They're like, I don't know if the chickens are getting bigger, but those chicken breasts can be so fat. And sometimes if you slice it in half, it makes it a whole lot easier to cook. But it can be a little awkward to do that. So we have a closing cut that the inside's spring-loaded. It kind of gently will hold things. So this can be used, well, the original use is if you have like several grape tomatoes or grapes and you want to cut them in half. You lay them in here and you just get a knife that's long enough and slice through the whole thing. But the chicken breast, if you have one of those monster chicken breasts, you can lay it in here, close it, and then cut through it horizontally so that it cooks twice as fast for you. So you can do that and have those prepped or freeze. If you get them in bulk, freeze as many as you need that way so they're easier when you pull them out. So that's a fun little option for your meat. And then I actually did a batch of this chicken earlier today just so that we don't have to wait. Actually, it's just about 3 minutes left. But I actually did a batch earlier, and I want to show you what it's like. You just have your chicken breast that came straight out of the pressure cooker just from what we did there, and I just saved some of the broth in there too, keep it a little moist. And when it does first come out, I have noticed The cook times, I still like to make sure chicken's done just because I get a little paranoid about chicken. So we do have instant read thermometer. So this you just turn on, and then this has been sitting for a while, so it won't be hot anymore, but you just put it in there. And what's handy is it even has little cheats. Chicken should be 165, and it tells you what each meat should be. So I like to use this to double check. But I was gonna say, sometimes if you do have those huge chicken breasts, they can take a little longer, 5 more minutes of pressure cooking, and then make sure you get to your temp on the chicken. The other meats I don't worry about it as much, but chicken I do. So I made sure the chicken was done, and then usually when you're doing a recipe with cooked chicken, it's the shredded chicken. You can do so much with the shredded chicken, like your enchiladas, or chicken salad, or casseroles. So we have these choppers. They're called the salad choppers, but we should have called them the meat choppers because we're always using these for meat. So you can literally just dig in straight into your pressure cooker pot even and start shredding this. Just straight in the bowl while it's still hot and you never had to touch it. And hopefully you can see it's just starting to break it up really quick there. So then I like to get it pretty fine. This is even making me think of, you could do like a loaded nachos with chicken on them. Do you guys have a favorite recipe to use shredded chicken in? Soup, yeah. Oh, that reminds me. So one of the recipes I'll send you, I have a favorite 1-minute pressure cooker chicken soup recipe. So basically all you would do is take your shredded chicken like this, and then your veggies, your carrot, celery, onion, and broth, and maybe a couple spices. Put it in the pressure cooker, and it pressure cooks for 1 minute, and your soup is done because your chicken was already cooked. So that's another super quick weeknight meal. And then, so I like to mention with that one, if you do that pressure cooker chicken soup, it didn't have the noodles in it, so I got that tip from Granny. Cook your noodles separate because if you mix them into the soup, they'll get mushy. So keep them separate until the last second. So this chicken's shredded nice and fine now. So at this point, I have my shredded meat ready to go for the week. My veggies prepped for the week. And pretend like we're using this one. This one's done, so I'm actually going to go over here, release the steam, and pull that out so we can take a look at that one, and we'll temp that one. So this, I don't know if you guys can see that, it's releasing the steam. And it takes a minute because there was a lot of heat and pressure in there. And that's where you want to stay back. But the pressure cooker itself, like it's totally, like you can touch the outside of it. It's not too hot or anything. It feels safe to be around. And the lid on there, it literally won't, you cannot get it off if it's under pressure. So you don't have to worry about anything scary happening. But yeah, this has been a workhorse. The pressure cooker, I call it the slow cooker for people that forget to plan ahead, because those slow cooked roasts and things and ribs, you can do like on a weeknight in like an hour or a little more than an hour in the pressure cooker. Okay, so the pressure release. And that's boiling nice and good there. So I'm going to grab a tong. Grab these out of here.
A roasted chicken breast. chicken breast.
So let's tempt these just to see out of curiosity. You always want to go in the thickest part. Oh yeah, we're good. It's going right up to 160, 170. So that makes me feel good. The chicken's done.
That's good.
So then from there you just, like we just did, you just shred that up. And then that's burning hot, and you can just dig right in there and get that shredding done right then. So I love that shortcut. So then we have all of those veggies prepped. We have our protein prepped for the week. And I actually have, so that you guys are able to use this, I have 2 PDFs. One of them, we call it power cooking chicken or power cooking beef because you do a whole big batch of it at once. And then it'll give you 3 ideas to use with that cooked chicken or cooked beef. So there's some chicken wraps, some soup, a soup recipe, a chicken and noodle toss. And then the ground beef one has a chili recipe, a sloppy joe recipe, Italian beef sandwich. There's actually 5 recipes to use a ground beef.
Wow.
So there's 8 recipes, and then for dinner ideas. And what I honestly have been loving to do that doesn't even really use a recipe is you make some rice, and I love to use the pressure cooker for rice. There's actually a setting on there. You just put equal parts rice and water in there and hit the rice button, and then in about 15 minutes you have your perfectly cooked rice. So say that you're gonna do your stir fry on a night this week, you can come home and do your rice so that it's fresh that night. And this is actually a little insulated serving bowl. So this has been keeping my rice warm that I did earlier today. And these are actually on sale. There's an insulated serving bowl on set because you know how it can be tricky if you're doing several dishes for a meal to get them all done and hot, staying hot at the same time. So these can keep something warm for you while you finish everything else. Or I like to keep my gravy in them. So you have some rice, and then you have all the veggies that we prepped for the week. What I like to do is just take a nice big roomy skillet and do a stir fry those veggies, and then towards the end of cooking add in your cooked chicken. And then do you guys all like the Asian flavors? So I found if you're feeling ambitious, you can make your own little stir fry sauce. It's pretty easy, but I found different sauces that are ready to go. Like I wanted to show you this one I got at Costco, this Japanese sauce. So this is ready to go. So you could have your veggies stir fried, throw in your cooked chicken, make sure it's all warm, and then warm it with some of the sauce on it. And that can be like a stir-fry meal. And that's been one of my favorite, just go-to, like when you don't know what to cook and you have your veggies prepped and your meat and you serve it over rice. So that's a meal idea. And then that 1-minute chicken soup in the pressure cooker, I'll send you that recipe. So hopefully this will help if you need some ideas. That'll give you 8, 9, like 10 ideas. That should get you through, that can get you through a few weeks.